Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, to allay any confusion that may have been sowed by the comments of my distinguished colleague from New Hampshire, the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard is in Maine. I just want to clear that up. Ambassador Braithwaite, you and I talked about the DDG being the workhorse of the Navy.
It is.
An important ship, a mature design. We're in the middle of a multi-year right now in 2018, 2022. I hope you will give serious consideration to a second multi-year starting in 2023 for two reasons. One, it's significant taxpayer savings when we buy in bulk, as you were, and also it helps to ensure the stability of the industrial base. Will you commit to giving serious consideration to that possibility?
Absolutely, Senator. As you and I discussed, the DDG-51, the Greyhound of the fleet, truly is the backbone and something we have relied upon as the department for the power projection that platform provides. And as a former group purchasing executive, I couldn't agree with you more in a group buy approach. That's great for the people of America and being good stewards to the taxpayer, Senator.
Thank you. I appreciate that. As we're in the midst of this crisis, the Navy has deemed both its public and private shipyards essential in terms of continuing their work. On the other hand, 2 points. One is necessarily there have been delays and contract delays because of the interruption in the work caused by the illness. I hope you'll work with Secretary Burkes and Secretary Lord on flexibility in the contracts and indeed perhaps additional funding in order to compensate the yards for working around this difficult situation.
Senator, I believe we've all learned a lot through this crisis, and we have a lot more to learn. If confirmed, I will work very closely with Secretary Burkes to ensure that we have the resources placed appropriately, God forbid if we were ever to encounter anything like this again.
And flexibility in terms of deadlines. I think
yes, sir. The impact has not been as great as what I was originally concerned. I understand we're at about 80%, and we will build back from that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The other piece of that is because the Navy has deemed these facilities essential, it's meant that their workers, mostly civilians, have gone to work and had to. And I hope that you will work with both the public yard officials, but also the companies involved with the private yards to be sure that they have the capability to keep their workers safe under these circumstances and the flexibility in terms of production schedules and such in order to facilitate safe workplaces for these patriotic Americans that are going to work every day to keep our country safe.
I think if we've learned anything in this, Senator, we've learned the fact that there are patriots in every sector of this country. As a healthcare executive, seeing what healthcare people have done and how they've stepped up and put their lives at risk to serve others, and it's the same with the shipyard workers who have done the same. Many of us are able to quarantine ourselves. They have not been,
right.
And they have continued to be out there on the front lines and have demonstrated, like our men and women in uniform do every day, of their patriotism and their commitment to our national security. That is something that I hold very sacred responsibility, if I'm confirmed, is to ensure for their safety as well. So whether it's a public yard, as in Portsmouth, or the private yard in Bath, as you and I discussed, I will look to support those efforts, Senator.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's very important to the men and women that work at those yards. General Brown, quickly, I think one thing I hope you will not lose focus on is the execution of the B-21 contract. As you know, we've had a rocky road in recent decades with major procurement contracts. This one seems to be on track, and I think it's been worked very hard and very well by the Air Force and by the contractor. I hope that you will commit to paying close attention to the progress of that, and so that we don't have to come back here and talk about massive overruns and delays, or any overruns and delays.
Senator, that is exactly my goal, if confirmed, is to ensure that it stays on track.
Finally, quick question. You and I talked about this. Again, I think attention needs to be paid to the potential gap in tanker capacity, we could have all the airplanes in the world, but if they can't be refueled to get to mission, we've got a failure of ability to project power. General Lyons, as you know, has projected a gap, if you will, in terms of tanker capacity over the next 5 to 10 years. I hope that also will be a focus of your attention.